So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the technologies and the philosophies I use when I'm creating an instructional portal. Now, an instructional portal is good for being able to get your idea across or some instruction across to a plethora of people. I mean, just the masses, without having to worry about whether they have access to it, whether it will be accessible to them, whether they would have control over the content, as far as time and that sort of stuff goes, or convenience. The best way to do that is a few tools that we need to be able to solve that. Now, as I mentioned just a minute ago, one of the most important things about creating an instructional portal is that it has to have at least 4 parts. It has to, one, be accessible. It has to have accessibility. At any time, the user should be able to access your content or your video or your tutorial or whatever it might be, your speech. Second thing, it has to be simple, meaning wherever they access it, it can't have a whole bunch of buttons everywhere. It has to be extremely straightforward, easy for people to be able to tell how to navigate. It should be so simple, in fact, that a child should be able to navigate. Maybe they don't know what they're pressing, but they know that this is where I'm supposed to press. The other thing is it has to be simple, as I just mentioned. The interface has to be simple, and you have to have control. Now, what that means is not simply the user having control over what they're selecting and what direction they go in your portal, whether it's an instructional portal or whether it's just informational. Not only do they have to have some sort of control over, the content or what will be presented. You, as the designer of that content, must have control over the technology. And so what I'm also going to show you in this video is the technology that you get to have control over. And some of them, I'm going to show you 2 concepts. One where it's going to be where you can do it in a complex way, but another where you can do it very simply, especially when you're on a time scale and when you want to have control without having to worry about this trouble of having the technological skill to be able to do such a thing. The other thing, it has to be convenient, meaning you don't want to create a web portal where every time you have to change it or switch something up, you need a tech genius to do it. You don't really want to have to worry about technology unless you want to. Okay, so I'm going to show you some technology that you're able to use without having to worry about the technology. And the way we make it accessible is by using these technology. And one of them is JavaScript. And that's the code that's working behind on HTML5. HTML5 is what a basic website is built from. JavaScript is the brains behind that website most of the time. There's other concepts even further beyond that we don't have to really worry about, like PHP, SQL, database stuff, or things server-side stuff. We don't have to worry about that because all we're doing is delivering content, or we're delivering whatever to a user, but we want many people to have access to it. The other thing is that you want it to be video. You want video because when people are on the web these days, especially the younger generation, they rather see a video than read a book. They'd rather see you do something and see it work, as opposed to seeing instructions to something that may or may not work. They don't even know. It could be something to where it's mostly theory. They have no idea. When you see it work, however, it is a complete different story. The other thing is it has to be manageable. So the manageability of it, meaning whatever web portal you create or whatever web portal you use, you have to be able to update it easily, like going to a YouTube page. The only problem that you may have with YouTube is that it goes back to that control concept. You don't quite have control over the complete interface with YouTube. So this is why we're going to be using JavaScript and HTML to achieve what we need to achieve. Many times you'll put a web portal up and you're gonna have the greatest video ever. It's gonna be up, but then you want to add to that video or put an update up there. So it has to be easy for you to be able to change your web portal. Now, the web portal gives you control over not only the content but the direction of the content. Whereas when you put it on YouTube, sometimes you don't have that sort of control of the content itself, especially when it's in pieces. So let's go ahead and look at how we can create our own instructional portal. Now, one way you can create an instructional portal is, like I said, we'll be using HTML5, and we're going to do this the simplest way possible. So right here you see this instructional portal. Let me show you how this looks actually online. So when the user comes here, this is what they have. They have all of this stuff here. And again, I'm going to show you the easiest way so we don't have to worry about HTML5. But this is using HTML5. It is using JavaScript. As a matter of fact, if I show you the code behind on this, by hitting F12, you will see that the code is all here, but I didn't have to really write any of this. I didn't have to write any of this. Not really. I didn't write any of it. And normally when I build a website, I would have to write all of this stuff. So we'll be able to do this, and we'll be able to do it for free. It breaks everything down into steps. When you're done with that, you can go ahead and start this lesson here. So once you start this lesson, it'll go to the section 1, creating a project. You see, everything is simple, everything is stacked, and everything leads the person where they want to go. I even put this area here for feedback. So let's look at how we can recreate this whole thing here. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first major part of creating a web portal, the website itself. And in the next video after that, we're going to look at actually how to create the video itself. I'll see you then.